Book 15, Part 1 of Ovid's Metamorphoses. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Metamorphoses by Publius Ovidius Naso, translated by Brooks Moore. Book 15, Part 1. While this was happening, they began to seek for one who could endure the weight of such a task, and could succeed a king so great. And Fame, the harbinger of truth, destined illustrious Numa for the sovereign power. It did not satisfy his heart to know only the Sabine ceremonials, and he conceived in his expansive mind much greater views, examining the depth and cause of things. His country and his cares forgotten, this desire led him to visit the city that once welcomed Hercules. Numa desired to know what founder built a Grecian city on Italian shores. One of the old inhabitants, who was well acquainted with past history, replied, "Rich in Iberian herds, the son of Jove turned from the ocean, and with favoring wind, 'tis said, he landed on Licinian shores. And, while the herds strayed in the tender grasses, he visited the house, the friendly home, of far-famed Croton. There he rested from his arduous labors. At the time of his departure, he said, 'Here in future days shall be a city of your numerous race.' The passing years have proved the promise true, for Mycellus, choosing that site, marked out a city's walls. Argive Alamon's son, of all the men in his generation, he was most acceptable to the heavenly gods. Bending over him once at dawn, while he was overwhelmed with drowsiness of sleep, the huge club-bearer Hercules addressed him thus: 'Come now, desert your native shores. Go quickly to the pebbly flowing stream of distant Aesar.' And he threatened ill in fearful words unless he should obey. Sleep and the god departed instantly. Alamon's son, arising from his couch, pondered his recent vision thoughtfully, with his conclusions at cross purposes. The god commanded him to quit the land. The laws forbade departure, threatening death to all who sought to leave their native land. The brilliant sun had hidden in the sea his shining head, and darkest night had then put forth her starry face, and at that time it seemed as if the same god Hercules was present and repeating his commands, threatening still more and graver penalties, if he should fail to obey. Now sore afraid, he set about to move his household gods to a new settlement, but rumors then followed him through the city, and he was accused of holding statutes in contempt. The accusation hardly had been made when his offense was evidently proved, even without a witness. Then he raised his face and hands up to the gods above, and, suppliant in neglected garb, he exclaimed, "O mighty Hercules, for whom alone the twice 6 labors gave the privilege of heavenly residence, give me your aid, for you were the true cause of my offense." It was an ancient custom of that land to vote with chosen petals, white and black. The white absolved, the black condemned the man. And so that day the fateful votes were given. All cast into the cruel urn were black. Soon as that urn inverted poured forth all the pebbles to be counted, every one was changed completely from its black to white, and so the vote adjudged him innocent. By that most fortunate aid of Hercules he was exempted from the country's law. Mycellus, breathing thanks to Hercules, with favoring wind sailed on the Ionian Sea, past Salentine Neritum, Sybaris, Spartan Tarentum, and the Cyrene Bay, Cremisa, and on beyond the Iapygian fields. Then, skirting shores which faced these lands, he found the place foretold, the river's Aesar's mouth, and found not far away a burial mound which covered with its soil the hallowed bones of Croton. There, upon the appointed land, he built up walls, and he conferred the name of Croton, who was there entombed, on his new city, which has ever since been called Crotona. By tradition it is known such strange deeds caused that city to be built, by men of Greece upon the Italian coast. Here lived a man, by birth a Samian. He had fled from Samos and the ruling class, a voluntary exile, for his hate against all tyranny. He had the gift of holding mental converse with the gods, who live far distant in the height of heaven, and all that nature has denied to man and human vision he reviewed with eyes of his enlightened soul. And when he had examined all things in his careful mind with watchful study, he released his thoughts to knowledge of the public. He would speak to crowds of people silent and amazed, while he revealed to them the origin of this vast universe, the cause of things, what is nature, what a god, whence came the snow, the cause of lightning, was it Jupiter, or did the winds, that thundered when the cloud was rent asunder, cause the lightning flash? What shook the earth, what laws controlled the stars as they were moved, and every hidden thing? He was the first man to forbid the use of any animal's flesh as human food. He was the first to speak with learned lips, though not believed in this, exhorting them. "No, mortals," he would say, "do not permit pollution of your bodies with such food. For there are grain and good fruits which bear down the branches by their weight, and ripen grapes upon the vines, and herbs, those sweet by nature, and those which will grow tender and mellow with the fire. And flowing milk is not denied, nor honey, redolent of blossoming thyme. The lavish earth yields rich and healthful food, affording dainties without slaughter, death, and bloodshed. Dull beasts delight to satisfy their hunger with torn flesh, and yet not all. Horses and sheep and cattle live on grass. But all the savage animals, the fierce Armenian tigers and ferocious lions and bears, together with the roving wolves, delight in viands reeking with warm blood. Oh, ponder a moment such a monstrous crime, vitals in vitals gorged, one greedy body fattening with plunder of another's flesh, a living being fed on another's life. In that abundance which our earth, the best of mothers, will afford, have you no joy unless your savage teeth can gnaw the piteous flesh of some flayed animal to re-enact the Cyclopean crime? And can you not appease the hungry void, that perverted craving of a stomach's greed, unless you first destroy another life? That age of old time which is given the name golden was so blessed in fruit of trees, and in the good herbs which the earth produced, that it never would pollute the mouth with blood. The birds then safely moved their wings in air, the timid hares would wander in the fields with no fear, and their own credulity had not suspended fishes from the hook. All life was safe from treacherous wiles, fearing no injury, a peaceful world. After that time some of ill advice, it does not matter who it might have been, envied the ways of lions, and gulped into his greedy paunch stuff from a carcass vile. He opened the foul paths of wickedness. It may be that in killing beasts of prey our steel was for the first time warmed with blood, and that could be defended, for I hold that predatory creatures, which attempt destruction of mankind, are put to death without evasion of the sacred laws, but though with justice they are put to death, they cannot be a cause for eating them. This wickedness went further, and the sow was thought to have deserved death as the first of victims, for with her long turned-up snout she spoiled the good hope of a harvest year. The ravenous goat, that gnawed a sprouting vine, was led for slaughter to the altar fires of angry Bacchus. It was their own fault that surely caused the ruin of those two. But why have a sheep deserved sad destiny? Harmless and useful for the good of man, with nectar in full udders. Their soft wool affords the warmest coverings for our use. Their life, and not their death, would help us more. Why have the oxen of the field deserved a sad end? Innocent, without deceit, and harmless, without guile, born to endure hard labor. Without gratitude is he, unworthy of the gift of harvest fields, who, after he relieved his worker from weight of the curving plough, could butcher him, could sever with an axe that toil-worn neck, by which so often, with hard work, the ground had been turned up, so many harvests reared. For some, even crimes like these are not enough. They have imputed to the gods themselves abomination. They believe a God in heaven above rejoices at the death of a laborious ox. A victim free of blemish, and most beautiful in form, perfection brings destruction, is adorned with garlands, and with gilded horns before the altar. In his ignorance he hears one praying, and he sees the very grain he labored to produce fixed on his head between the horns, and felled, he stains with blood the knife which just before he may have seen reflected in clear water. Instantly they snatch out entrails from his throbbing form, and seek in them intentions of the gods. Then, in your lust for forbidden food, you will presume to batten on his flesh, O race of mortals! Do not eat such food. Give your attention to my serious words. And when you next present the slaughtered flesh of oxen to your palates, know and feel that you gnaw your fellow tillers of the soil. And, since the God impels me to speak out, I will obey the God who urges me, and will disclose to you the heavens above, and I will even reveal the origin